Are you a parent navigating the complexities of co-parenting, family court, or even domestic violence? If you are looking for ways to help protect your children and build a strong and supportive community around you, then look no further. Gray Minds Think Alike is your go-to resource for everything related to the complexities of family life. Join us as we dive into thoughtful conversations with experts and explore practical tips and strategies for tackling the challenges of parenthood in the throes of adversity so that no parent feels alone and every child's safety is protected. Welcome back to Gray Minds Think Alike, where we dive deep into the conversations that matter most with experts who enlighten, inspire, and empower. Motherhood is often described as beautiful and fulfilling, which it is, but for many parents, it can also feel overwhelming, isolating, and like you've slowly lost pieces of yourself along the way. Today, I'm joined by Cindy Woulfe, author of In the Weeds, a guide to saving your own soul on this crazy journey called motherhood, for an honest conversation about what happens when caring for everyone else leaves you depleted. We talk about self-care without guilt, setting healthy boundaries, and reconnecting with who you are beyond the role of mom. This conversation's for anyone who's felt stuck, exhausted, or quietly struggling and is ready for permission to care for themselves too. So welcome, Cindy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. If you want to just give our audience a little background on who you are and how this all came about.
Okay, so I'm a writer now, but I was originally in corporate fashion, and then I left to act, and then I met my husband. Yes. Well, that's the thing. I think because by the time I got married and had my first child, I already had a really strong sense of self. So I think that's part of why I felt the hit. Yes, right. As much as I did, because I did so much before I even had kids, and getting pregnant, having my son, one of my biggest dreams. So I felt so excited when all of that was happening. And then about a year into my journey of being a mom, everything looked perfect on the outside. It was going well. I was very lucky to be home with him. My husband commuted, so he wasn't home that much. And we bonded, and it was a wonderful time. But anytime I would start to get quiet or have some time to myself, especially the better we got our sleep schedule and nap schedule, the more I realized that I was slowly losing myself. And to the point where I finally was like, what is wrong with me? Like, what is going on and what is wrong with me? And that's how I felt.
Plus,
and
you probably have no idea that every mother probably feels that as well.
Right. I felt extremely alone. And I felt like, why didn't anyone tell me this? Or why doesn't anyone talk about this?
I actually felt the same. I was always like, okay, you're giving. And I'm like, but what about the person that I was before? I don't, I wasn't doing any of the activities I used to do. It changes you in every possible way.
Yeah.
And then eventually when your child is a little bit older and starts going to school, you're like, oh, wait, I remember who I used to be again.
Right.
Doing all those things again. So it is interesting how those roles kind of turn back. And then maybe even when your child is older and you're older, it may even reverse again.
Well, and that's why, too, I'm glad I started asking the question when he was so young, because now that both of mine are in school, I think I would be so far from myself, I wouldn't even know how to get back. So because I put in the work early on, I feel like I've been able to adjust more as they grow up and be more present when I'm with them and be more whole just as a person, so I can be the best mom. Not the best mom, but the best I can be.
You can be. And okay, so in your journey, at what point were you like, okay, this isn't right. I know this can't be right.
So I had that first dark night in my kitchen when my oldest was, I think, about 1 or a little before 1. And I started to ask some questions, started to take some time for myself and get a little bit back in touch. But then I got pregnant with my second. Then we were moving to another state because my husband changed his job. So it was like everything that could be stressful happened at once. And if I hadn't started a little bit of the work, I think I would have really lost my mind. But I think it was when we first moved to our new house, and my second was a baby. He was crawling all over. My first was 3, running all over. I had no preschool in place for us yet. It was freezing cold. The baby gates weren't up, and I was really starting to lose it. And I got a text from my friend across the country asking me how I was doing. How was the house? How was I adjusting? And I felt like for the first time, I was really honest with someone else. And I said, this is really hard. I don't think I'm doing it right. I'm losing my mind. And she had already had 2 kids, a little older than mine, and a pretty great life. They still traveled. They still did everything. So she was someone I looked up to. And she told me motherhood can be a dark hole sometimes.
It's true.
And I remember thinking like, what? Like, you feel this way too? Like, if you feel this way, then there's hope for me because you still have this great life. So it was
how
very
many other
eye-opening.
Women feel this way.
Right. So that's when I learned, okay, if I'm going to have someone be honest with me, I have to start being honest with other people. So that was huge. And then also just not feeling alone for the first time was huge because I was like, okay, I can do this. Like I can figure this out. Did you think you
maybe had postpartum?
I think I did a little with my second, but something in me told me I can get myself out of this. So I fully understand for some people, you know, your brain chemistry's off, your hormones are messed up. Like some people cannot get themselves out of it. So definitely I would say see a doctor just like you'd advocate for your baby. But I think something in me told me I want to keep going. Like I feel like this is a me thing, not something that can be fixed with drugs or hormones or anything like that.
And it can only get better. So what did you do at that aha moment?
So then I started being more honest with everyone. So even like through my kids, some of the moms I met, I was sharing my story more or being honest and talking about it more. And I hate to complain a lot. It didn't turn into that though. It became more of like a sharing thing. So we would start off being honest. I'd immediately see the relief in other people's eyes because, okay, now we're all being honest. And then we like lifted each other up. So I think there is a danger that comes from constantly complaining about things and kids are awful and motherhood sucks and all that. I didn't want to do that, but just sharing my own struggles and having people share them back with me, I felt a little healed after those gatherings. So I definitely kept doing more of that. And then I just kept asking myself, like, what do I need now? What's missing from my life? Because I think especially early motherhood, you're so overwhelmed. There's so much going on. So you think, oh, I can't possibly add anything else. But sometimes adding just a few things for yourself, that's what creates the balance.
So aside from therapy, which I'm a firm believer in,
yes,
what are a couple of just easy things that someone can just add to today?
So for me, meditation is huge.
Okay.
And to someone that maybe that sounds scary to, just quiet could help. I think even the quiet,
which is hard with a baby.
Yes, it is, but it's so worth it if you can carve out that time. And especially as you get on like a nap schedule, a sleep schedule, there is time there and you just have to make it a priority because what I didn't realize was the hit my nervous system took. Like it was a physical response I was having to constantly being on call and constantly doing all the things or thinking about all the things. And just that quiet helped my nervous system reset a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would say that's the first place I would start.
Yeah. I know for me, whenever my son would go to sleep for the night at like 7 p.m., he'd be in my bed because he'd fall asleep and I would just lay there with him sleeping. And I would put on my DVR shows of reality TV nonsense and just sort of zone out for like a few hours and watch all those shows that just makes me again.
That's my biggest message too, is find what works for you. Like, especially even just the way your day is structured, like how you spend nap time, if you're constantly spending time watching your shows and saying, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. That's not like, give yourself that time. Okay, I'm going to take an hour now and watch my shows because I know that feels good to me and do it with intention, lose the guilt. And then that's adding something in for you.
Right. And it's something that small. Just watching an hour of Vanderpump Rules could be the answer to everything.
Yes. I'm a big Bravo fan as well.
Yes, me too. So a lot of our listeners are either dealing with divorce or struggling with co-parenting and things like that. So for those people who are maybe are single parent, how do they do it? How does one do it when you're the sole person in the house? You have no one to even vent to, or another partner, or you're dealing with trauma or domestic violence or other really traumatic things? I
think it's just accepting that you deserve time too, or you deserve the same care you give your kids. And I think also just realizing that self-care is not about being selfish. The goal is to show up the best version of you. So you're actually doing a service to your children and everyone around you by taking care of yourself.
Sure. It's like the whole oxygen mask scenario.
Right. But I think it's very positioned to women like treat yourself or go get a pedicure. And that's great too, but that's not the same as, okay, this is your duty to make sure you take care of your own soul so you can show up and take care of these kids, not resent them, not be angry, not be snapping, because the better you show up, the better everyone feels. So I think even just changing that narrative to this is also your responsibility.
So now you use the phrase, it's wild in the weeds when talking about motherhood, which is really funny because I used to be in the restaurant biz and we would always say I'm in the weeds.
Yep.
So I'm assuming it's the same thing, but what did the weeds look like for you personally?
With kids or in the restaurant business?
With kids.
Okay, so it did come from my restaurant experience. I still
say it for everything. Like, I'm having a busy day. I'm like, I'm in the weeds. I can't talk.
Right. But the thing is, like, don't you feel the more you do it, the more you realize, okay, I'm going to come out of this. Like, that's all it is. It's an overwhelm. You gotta be a really good multitasker. Yes. And it's going to pass. You'll survive it. But I think, especially once my second came along, like, there was just no way to have peace. So I think I realized that I can keep myself grounded even when the world around me is exploding. And I think that's the trick. And I think that's what the inner work did for me. Nothing around me is going to change. Like, especially now I have 2 boys. They are as wild as ever. Our house is constant chaos. But I've become so good at grounding myself that I can survive their chaos. So
chaos is probably normal now.
Yeah. And it's just normal, happy kids are loud and chaotic. And that's just how it is. But I think that the more you can get yourself balanced and say, okay, what can I control? Because I can't control anything out here. So even just having that realization is huge. Like, what am I trying to control that's completely out of my control? Take it off the list. What can I do right now? What can I realistically fit into my day right now? What one little thing can I add that will bring me joy today? Thinking like that, like baby steps. Yeah, I mean, it was hard for me
because I was co-parenting with Greyson's father and we did not get along. And so he tried to control me and my son was murdered in the end. But that type of control is really hard to ever get back. So when I was in the weeds, I was really in the weeds because I didn't have some of that control. And that was the scary part. But so, okay, your book, In the Weeds, you described, as saving your own soul. What was happening in your life when the idea for the book surfaced, aside from your chaos?
First, I would like to say I'm so sorry about your story. You are truly a survivor and amazing that you're still helping people and transforming your story to help others. I think that's a beautiful thing. I definitely started writing the book while I was very much in the weeds to the point that I was just putting notes in my phone.
Right.
Like literally I would, like that's all you can do because the moments were not that easy to sit down with like a laptop or anything. So I would have the downloads in my head and I would just quickly put them in my notes. And then it just got to the point where I had so many notes. I was like, I need to get this into something. Like I found myself offering the advice that I offer in the book to more and more mom friends. And I had more people come back and say, I thought about that thing you said, and it really changed the way I look at this. Or I thought about that story you told me, and now I do this, and it's really helped my day. So I was like, the more and more I was hearing that, the more I was like, I have to, this is my responsibility now to get this out here because I wish I had something like this.
So is this just a bunch of stories? Is it blogs? Is it a guidebook? Is it a how-to? What exactly is this?
So it's broken up into 30 chapters, short, little, easy, very easy to digest chapters because nobody has a lot of time. But each chapter is a story of mine.
Okay.
And then what I took from that story, what I learned, and how I applied the change. And it's even the advice that I give is not do this exactly this way and this will happen. It's okay, here's my experience. Here's what I learned. Take this and do with it what you will. Or let it sit in your head a little bit and maybe it changes the way you look at something. But it's meant to be used however you need it at the time you're reading it. And there are journal prompts if you want to get a little deeper with some of the self-reflection.
Notes.
Yeah. Because that was huge for me too, was journaling, which I think also scares people, but it was amazing to hear my own voice again. Because I think you are somewhere in there, even when you're overwhelmed or you feel like you've lost yourself. And sometimes just the quiet of writing, that voice comes out a little more. And
I used to journal and write letters to Greyson for his future self.
Yeah.
So if I would be even upset, whatever, just journaling that, it brought like good memories or thoughts because
I hope you still do that to him, for him.
I don't, because I
write
know
letters
he'll never
to my
read
dad.
them. But
yeah, but I mean,
I do have them to read.
Yeah.
At the point where I am ready to read them, which I haven't.
Yeah.
But I do have them.
Because I write to my dad who's gone.
Right.
And
I do write birthday cards. So every year on his birthday, I get him a birthday card and I bring it to the tree where we release balloons and I have everyone sign it who comes. And then I write a little message about what I would hope for in that year and give them. So one day again, hopefully we'll look back and read them all and remember how loved he was.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Okay, so you talk about mom or martyr. How do you think our culture pushed mothers into that role? And how do we start stepping out of it?
I think we are the only ones who are going to do it for ourselves. That's one. But I think even now, it's just so like when I see these posts where it's like, happy birthday to my beautiful wife who never thinks about herself and always puts everyone else first. And it makes me crazy because I'm like, please don't ever say that about me. One, yes, my kids are my priority. That's where my energy goes. I've chosen to have them full time as my job. But like, don't ever give me credit for not taking care of myself. Like I want to take care of myself. I want my kids to see me take care of myself. I want them to know how to take care of themselves or their future partners. So like that whole like selfless, never puts herself first, never thinks about herself. I think we need to rewrite that and no one's going to do it but us. Like we have to do it for ourselves.
It's so funny because I just finished rewatching Mad Men. I watched it when it was on real time, but I have the wonderful gift of instantly forgetting a show once I stop watching it. So I just rewatched it for the first time. And it's amazing what like generations, different, when you look back to different generations and decades, how parenting has changed. I look at Betty Draper and how she was with the kids and first of all, how she's smoking and drinking and driving with all of them in the front seat. But that wasn't her fault. That was just the times. But sometimes she was a little selfish.
Right.
It's almost like it changed from like Laura Ingalls days mom, from that type of mom to then the type that are just doing their own thing. And then we move back into, okay, we're going to focus on the kids. And now in today's era, it's a combination of both.
Yes. But I think it is interesting you bring up Mad Men because I feel like that is the generation where it was like, just keep drinking. Drink and smoke and take these tranquilizers and let's just do anything we can to keep you just like
functioning.
This. Yeah. And I think about my grandma too. So my mom is one of 8. And she would make mashed potatoes. They were Irish. She would make mashed potatoes every night, like peel all the potatoes. And I hate peeling potatoes. And I always think of her. I'm like, how did she do it with 8 kids?
Yeah.
And then my mom recently told me they would hear her go down the basement and cry. Like it was like a normal thing that mom went down the
basement. She peeled potatoes while cry?
Yeah. Or I don't think she had the potatoes with her, but that was her thing that she would go cry. That's like heartbreaking. Yeah. And they just saw that as normal. That's what mom does. But she was probably so overwhelmed.
And maybe even just peeling those potatoes every day was a routine.
Yeah. I mean,
people need routine, just like babies need routines.
But I will say at the end of her life, she didn't want to take care of anyone else. She was like,
no fucking more potatoes.
Right. She was done. She wanted to live alone. And that's what she did because she was just so done. And I don't blame her. Now I get it more than ever.
Yeah, for sure.
So absolutely. I think I would like to save myself from going down my basement and crying. I mean, I'm a big fan of crying. I think it's a wonderful release.
Yes.
But I want to deal with things more.
Right.
And I don't want
to cry to feel emotion, not just feel sadness.
Right. And release it because it is a release. Exactly. So you're getting something out.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes after that, you're back to good.
Yes. Lighter.
So, okay, so one of your themes is repetition as relaxation. Can you explain how everyday rituals, like you said, the potatoes, can actually help regulate overwhelmed moms?
Well, I think that's the thing too that goes back to when it feels so overwhelming, it's like, I can't possibly add that in. I can't possibly add that in. But when you make them small enough, it feels like, maybe this will make a difference. But a small thing repeated over and over again becomes a routine. And then you're like, I missed that. I missed that little ritual this one day. And I feel a difference now. So that was how I started to realize that those small things were actually really adding up. And because they were small enough, it's easy to add them in.
Yeah, I would notice it too. Like I said, even just at bedtime when, Greyson would fall asleep and I'd do his whole bedtime routine and then it would be almost turn into my bedtime routine because then I would watch my shows and then I would do whatever I needed to do for, the next, get ready for the next day, and then do my, bathing self-care and then go to sleep. And every night it was that ritual. And I looked forward to it because I knew that was my time. I knew it was coming. Even if I had a busy, crazy day, I still knew that part of the night was still coming for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think too, that's the beauty of the small things too, is that as kids grow and the routines change, you are going to have to shift some of your rituals. And like now that my kids are in school, it looks very different than it did when they were little. But those things it's easy to transition them and change the little things because they are little, so I can fit them in different places.
Right. Yeah.
So I think you're really creating habits that maybe you keep for the rest of your life.
And everything evolves, right?
Yeah.
Everything morphs, everything shifts. It's just learning how to roll with the punches, I guess. I'll go with the flow.
I think too, I started out thinking, how can I get back to myself? And then what I realized was, okay, I can get back in touch with myself, but I am different now.
Right. You're never going to be that single person again.
But I'm going to let it transform me. Like I'm going to let, motherhood cracks open all your childhood stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But let it crack you open because there's a whole transformation that can come from it. So I think if we let it transform us instead of completely break us, there's so much beauty on the other end of that.
I agree. I mean, once you become a mother, you are changed for life. There's no getting that back.
Right.
Even though my child is not here, I still am forever changed. I will never be the person I was before.
Absolutely.
And a part of me misses that person, but it's just, learning to love the new person that you are.
And appreciate all you've been through and how you've been able to transform it.
So now what's the best and worst advice you've ever received about motherhood and how did that impact you?
Well, I'm going to start with the worst because that's the first thing that goes to my mind. But I mean, I had so much bad advice thrown at me. The one I remember the most when my little was first born, like literally 3 days old. And someone told me, don't hold him too much because he'll get used to that. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with him? Like, don't I want to hold him now? This is our time to bond. Like, so I shoved that away. I was like, forget it. If this baby wants me, I'm holding him. Like, this is our bonding time. And I guess I don't even know what the best advice because I don't think I got any. Honestly, like I can't think of, I guess my mom is pretty good. And this is one of my chapters, this too shall pass. So that is one of the best pieces of advice for anything in life. Like whatever you're going through, this too shall pass. It might change and there'll be other stuff, but every single phase will pass. So just like hold on and you'll get through it. So that I would say that's the best advice.
I think mine was, I used to write for Good Housekeeping magazine, and that was one of my questions in an article once. And I think I answered, always carry a snack of some kind. Whether it's for you or your child, at some point, like while they're toddlers or babies, you're going to want some sort of snack.
Yeah, even now, because the hanger is real.
It is.
Especially for boys, I think.
Yeah, I always had like a cereal bar or some sort of something in my bag. Yeah. So, okay. So for moms listening, feel like they may have lost their identity, which we've talked about, maybe meditating. Aside from meditation, where do you suggest they start reconnecting themselves? Maybe like support groups, or how do you even get in touch with people to talk?
Well, I think it needs to start with you first. So I think even most moms go to a gym class or a music class, something where there's other moms around. And I think the more open you can be, the more you will draw the people to you that will also be open. And not everyone wants to go there. Like I always remember one of the gym classes I went to with my older son. And every week we would go and everyone would be great. Everything was great. Everything was good. And then the one week it was like a bad night, sleep regression. And I just started crying and it all spilt out. And then everyone else sort of let down their guard. And I always remember one mom like just sort of walking away. Like she just couldn't. And that's okay. Like she couldn't go there.
That was probably me.
And that's okay too. Someone's not ready.
I always took my son to all these mommy and me classes or soccer or whatever. And I bonded with a lot of the moms, but then I just saw how perfect their life looked. And mine was just chaos going through co-parenting. And here I'm looking at all these happy couples with both the mother and father watching their kid. And I would just sometimes cry at my situation. But then I realized that everyone has problems. They have problems that
Absolutely.
I just don't know about.
Yes.
So I just learned to accept that not everyone is perfect.
And no one is perfect. No one. So even if that person can't express it, there'll be a handful of others that are like, oh, thank God you said something, because that's how I feel too. And I feel like there's so much power in that connection. Like, okay, we're in this together. Oh, you feel that way too? Oh, thank God. I thought it was just me.
Right.
I think in anything in life, that's the worst feeling, is like, I'm completely alone, or there's something wrong with me.
Right. And that's why I think
feeling.
like there's even a lot of like Facebook groups or social media groups. Obviously I have belonged to ones like, Mommy and Me, or different mom groups or parenting groups. And yeah, I mean, you get some of the best advice or feedback from those types of groups, because everyone's just sort of in it together, right?
Yeah, in survival mode together.
Right. Whether it's, just recommending a class or getting like advice, real, deep down advice.
And that's another thing too. I think it's important, even with mom friends, to find a level too where we're not just talking about our kids. There are some friends that's what you have in common is your kids, and maybe that's as far as it goes. But I've met some of my very good friends now from like my other son's preschool class, because we got to know each other past our children. So like that helps you, I think, keep your identity too, or form a new identity, because now you're engaging with other people on a different level. It's not just about your kids.
The child.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are probably will become true friends, not just the surface level friends that you see at, pickup or whatnot.
Which those are good too,
Absolutely. Yeah.
But sometimes, like, okay, this one's going to go a little deeper, or this is good where it is. Like,
and also, if those kids stop going to school together and you don't see that person, they're still going to be your friend.
Yeah. Yes.
So those are always good.
I do think the real work starts on your own, probably. And
it's hard to start that because some people don't know where to start. Some people don't have the energy to start.
I would say too, that's where like the just one thing comes in.
Right.
Like maybe just one thing you could do this week. Like what brings you joy? Like one thing you could add to your day.
Each day. Yeah. Each day.
Even just for me, like when I have or my coffee, like when I have my morning coffee, that's when I do my gratitude. And now that my kids are in school, like I prioritize that. If I have an early dentist appointment or something, obviously I can't, but like I prioritize once I get them on the bus, I sit before I do anything else in my day and have my breakfast and coffee and my gratitude, and then I tackle. But that brings me so much joy.
Yeah.
And it's a very easy thing to add into my daily life.
Absolutely. How does this translate when you go on vacation and whatnot?
I still have my coffee. Oh, yeah. And in fact, my kids know, like, okay, daddy's going to bring mommy her coffee.
Okay.
And I'm gluten free too. So I usually can't eat waffles and stuff. So they go get breakfast.
And you have your time.
Yeah, they know mommy's doing her gratitude. Her coffee.
That's nice. Did they call it that?
Yeah, because they call it, because they're just so used to me saying it. Oh. They probably think all moms do that.
I wish they did, because that sounds lovely. I mean, it does. I'm like, what am I thankful for today?
Yes. Yeah. But I mean, it becomes a practice too. And then the more you train your mind to do it, the easier it is. So
does parenting ever get easier, or do we just get better at navigating the hard parts?
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
I think if anything, I think it gets a little harder. Sure. I think physically it gets easier. Like, especially when I look back to those early years where I started wearing sneakers all the time because my little one would just take off. Yeah. And you'd have to run like full speed. So that has, I think physically it's gotten easier. I'm not hauling things, but I think the problems get harder and the worry gets, So I think
they get independent and they're on their own.
Yes. And it's like, and you're not getting back as much. Like there's not as many cuddles. Yeah. So I think the tougher, again, that you can get yourself, the less pressure on the kids. So like,
how do you prepare for that when they start getting older and transition, maybe in high school? And it's like, how does a mother let go of that chapter and embrace the next chapter, which is also a whole other person? Yeah. And getting to know that new person.
Even now, my 11-year-old, he's only in 5th grade, and I can feel him pulling away. And he's starting to be kind of mean at times. And it's a scary thing. But I think because I do have my strong sense of self now, I don't really put it on him. It's like, okay, I know how to make myself happy. And it hurts when he throws those insults at me or is like really snarky. But I'm like, okay, I'm okay. I am okay. exactly how I am, and I can be the calm for him because he's obviously having big feelings about something. So the more okay I am, the less I react to that. So I think this work is probably going to be even more important when they're teenagers.
And then you'll have to get to know your new self once they leave the house and it's empty nest. And you're like, okay, well now I'm back to where I was before I had kids, but it's kind of
But
crazy.
I will say I saw that in my mom. Like my mom always had her own life too. Like we were important to her, but she always had classes or this or that. And she still does now. Good. So I think that made an impact on me. Like I don't ever want my kids to feel like, oh, I don't want to go far away to college because I don't want to leave mommy, or I don't I knew my parents were okay.
I didn't care. I was like, I'm out. I left for college 2 weeks after I graduated high school.
Wow. See, I did too, but I was like, okay, I know they'll be good without me. It's okay. I think too, I don't want to resent my kids. Like, I think it's hard if you're not fulfilled, it's hard not to get into a place of resentment. So you resent your kids or you resent your husband or you resent your life. I don't want to put that on them. So that's another responsibility. I feel, okay, the best I can keep myself, then they don't have to carry that.
Right.
Oh, mommy gave up all her dreams for me. Or
do you think fathers go through like the same type of thing at all?
I mean, my husband doesn't. I don't know that. I can't speak for
others. You're saying he doesn't feel any guilt. He doesn't feel any overwhelm. I'm sure they get overwhelmed because men
overwhelmed. Yes.
Men don't handle this kind of stress as well.
And I think I don't want to generalize, but speaking from my husband, like when we had our first, his life just sort of carried on. And that was partly my fault too, because the way that we had it set up where I was going to stay home with them and try to do my own thing on the side, thinking I'd have all this time, which I never did. But his life just sort of carried on.
So he went to work every day.
He came home. He left when we were sleeping. He came home when my son was already asleep. The house was already cleaned up. So for a good few years, his life...
What's it?
Yeah.
Did we have a baby?
And that was as much my fault too.
Right.
But then the more I stepped up, that's why now the coffee thing, I'm like, okay, that's my thing. Like when you're home, you can bring me coffee in the morning because...
And I think an important role that they could have if that's... Because that happens with a lot of parents where, one parent would leave the house and one parent's home and the child's sleeping and whatnot. But if I'd say for that parent that gets to miss a lot, maybe they can pick one thing to do with that child that day, even if it's just reading them their bedtime story because they're already asleep and dedicating that one thing or, something like that.
Well, and that was part of my recovery or whatever too, was telling my husband what I needed and saying like, I need you to step up and do this. And I need you to step up
and that would be your time to do something for you when he was with the child. Yeah. That's definitely helpful.
Yeah. And that helped me a lot find my voice too, because he had no idea either because everything looked fine. So I had to start being honest with him too.
And how did he take that?
He took it in stride. He still does. He knows that he married a very vocal person.
Right.
And I think now he appreciates when I tell him what I need because he knows I come back better for it. And as much as I have felt the pressure of being the mood of my house, I have now seen it for the gift it is. Like when I am happy, everyone else is happier. And I do set the mood for my family. So I just accept that as my role now. So my husband is pretty supportive because he likes it better when I'm happy too. So he might not understand everything I do, but he's like, yeah, go do that. We're good. That kind of thing.
And like you said, as the kids get older, you'll have more freedom as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So I guess what's one of the most important lessons you want people to get out of your book?
I think that they're not alone. That they're not alone and they're not doing it wrong because it feels hard. Because it is hard. And that's okay. It's okay to not feel okay sometimes. And you're not ever alone in this. Those are my biggest messages. Also, I would say too, this is your life, your routine, your baby. Set your own rules. Be in charge of your own. Tune out
I would always say that. I'm like, what, Susan next door is doing might not be the same for me because our situations are totally different.
Yes. And you're different. And your child is different.
And my child is different.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Certainly what went on in my house was very different. Greyson had a split family at birth.
Right.
So it's definitely harder, but kids adapt. So, you just have to learn that every family is different.
Yes. And to tune out the judgment.
Absolutely.
And tune out the judgment for yourself too. Like have to compare yourself to anyone else. You don't have to compare your child to anyone else. The stronger that connection is with you and your child, the easier it is to tune out all the other stuff.
Okay, well, this might be the same answer, but if you could leave our listeners with just one truth about motherhood that you wish someone told you earlier, what would it be?
Okay, well, so I'll use one of my other ones then, which is find your people. So like I would call my mom sometimes or my sister or like anytime I was drowning. And some people will validate you and maybe say, I've been there. And some people will say, everyone feels that way. Oh, you're just tired. Oh, it doesn't mean you have to cut people out of your life. But for this feeling, find your people that you can go to. Like my friend Brooke, the one who sent that text, I was able to be honest with. And I have gone to her many times and I know she's going to validate me and I know I'm going to feel better after I get off the phone with her. If someone in your life makes you feel guilty for taking time for yourself or doesn't validate your feelings, you don't have to disown them, but don't call them about this anymore. But knowing that difference is huge because you need people that will validate you.
I completely agree. I actually had like a list and I would literally check people like, okay, who can I call today? Because I didn't want to keep like burning the same person with the same nonsense, but I had to get it out somehow. And so did they. So it worked out.
And the beauty of that is then you can turn around because like our other college friend had kids behind me. So now when she calls me, I can be like, oh my gosh, you'll never, Brooke said to me once, blah, 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 like this helped me. So this will help you. So you can give it back too.
I always cherished when my mom friends gave me actual advice of something they went through with their children or their husband or their parent, whatever, and gave me that feedback because I know they had a similar situation or I can see what their outcome was and maybe do the same or do something different. So I always valued on the ground, like actual feedback.
Yeah.
Rather than just someone giving me their advice or their 2 cents. Yeah.
Yes. Or shutting you down completely. Like, oh, it's fine. You'll get over it. Drink some more wine.
Yeah, exactly. No, I had a lot to say. I definitely felt bad for those people where I just was like, I don't know what to do. But, a lot of parents that are navigating traumatic divorces and things that, or even a marriage that isn't working, probably has a little bit more difficulty sort of taking that time, getting that time, knowing who those people are. Right. You might, you may have the same people might be friends with your partner. It does get tricky.
Then that wouldn't be your safe person.
That wouldn't work. But that's why I'm a big believer in therapy. And if you can't afford therapy, at least you can get into groups or meetups or even a girls' night or just something to sort of break up the monotonous routine of, making breakfast, taking a kid to school, blah, blah, blah.
Yes, agreed.
Well, thank you so much, Cindy, for this honest and grounding conversation. Your reminder that the path through the weeds, I guess, begins with self-compassion, which is something so many parents need to hear, especially those who feel like they've lost themselves in the process of caring for everyone else. So to our listeners, if today's episode resonated with you, please know you're not alone. You're not failing. Motherhood was never meant to be a solo journey, and taking care of yourself is not a betrayal of your children. It is a gift. And you can learn more about Cindy and her book, In the Weeds, A Guide to Saving Your Own Soul on this crazy journey called motherhood. In our show notes, I will post everything. And if this episode helped you, please share it with another. So thank you so much, Cindy. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your words of wisdom.
Thank you for having me. It's great.
Absolutely. And we'll chat soon. I'm sure there's always more to catch up on.
Sounds good.
All right. If there's someone that you want to hear from on this podcast, please feel free to send me an email. Or if you would like to be a guest, please reach out at Allie@Greyson'sChoice.org. If you would like to continue to hear our podcast, please consider donating at Greyson'sChoice.org. Any amount helps to fund our mission to help protect our children.